Spoiler alert, the following podcast includes discussions on film that may potentially, intentionally or inadvertently, reveal plot twists, character traits, story details, up to and including endings that might otherwise be considered spoilers. Proceed at your own risk.
You're listening to Moviesucktastic.
GOG and MAGOG. You go by the name of being alive, and you are dead. On each side of the throne, there are 4 living creatures filled with eyes in front and behind.
So, welcome to Moviesucktastic,
Yeah.
the podcast review, movie review podcast. It's not a podcast review movie. That would be kind of boring. I'm Scott, the disgruntled individual cursing repeatedly as Joey.
Yeah, that's me. A little bit.
Well, let's breathe some positive energy into this episode, and
Yeah, whatever.
So as you can tell, we're reviewing the 1984 horror film C.H.U.D.
Yeah.
The acronym for Cannibalistic Humanoid. Oh, I can't talk today. Cannibalistic Humanoid Underground Dwellers.
Yes, that is what
Yes.
it stands for. God, I hate this fucking mouse.
Focus on the movie, sir. Focus on the movie. For a split second, I thought you were going to say, I hate this fucking movie.
No, I love this movie. This is one of my all-time favorites. Okay, right here. Opening shot. The bum. Jan Saint. I believe his name is Jan Saint. Same bum from Frankenhooker.
Which was unplanned, so thanks to Scott, it was an excellent challenge.
Well, this challenge actually came from me. I helped you, remember?
You assisted, but I made the call.
Okay. Well, I only have one film. I have a couple of films that I'll talk about.
All right.
That I'm going to challenge you to.
Okay.
We'll also go over the poll that's out now for the audience or anyone out there that wants to recommend films for us to review. We'll talk about that later as well. And I'm going to put the poll up on our website so that there's more than one spot for people to go to. Because,
Cool.
I don't want to just rely on people on Facebook. I want to rely on the random website goer that may come across our website and say, hey, they might recommend a film we've already reviewed. But
Sure.
It also will promote maybe them going to the podcast page and maybe listening to a few episodes. You never know.
It might.
You never know. All right, so last week I challenged Scott to Frankenhooker, and
Which I love.
yeah, me too. The connection was New York, gritty New York. Okay.
Well, New York horror.
New York horror.
Specifically.
Well, you know what? That's going to be the link for my challenge. But we'll get to that later. Because this movie just reminded me of like good old dirty, gritty New York. I love old New York movies, and I love movies that depict New York in a dirty, grimy way. And this movie does that. So my challenge to you is going to have that same theme, but that's later.
Pretty much most films portrayed New York as a very ugly, ugly place until the Giuliani administration kind of
pretty much the
Disneyfied the whole
70s,
thing.
pretty much the 70s and the 80s was the dirty, gritty, New York. And then, like you said, when Giuliani came in, which was mid 90s, cleaned the whole place up. No more porn shops. No more homeless, no more prostitutes on corners. All of that didn't go away. It just went somewhere else. Still yet to be found.
Yeah.
You can't find any of those porn shops anymore, and you certainly can't find prostitutes.
Porn shops are still there. They're just hidden behind like touristy facades.
Yeah, they are still there.
I don't want to get too much into it. I mean, they did the zoning where you couldn't have a porn shop within like 2 blocks of like anything, but areas where
that were grandfathered
even when you did have porn shops, you could only have them if 2/3 of or like 1/3 of what you were selling was non-porn related. So all these porn shops had to move all their porn stuff into the back and fill the front with like shitty snow globes and New York T-shirts and stuff. And so they pretty much hid the porn places.
That's right. I remember that. What? I can't go into a jerk-off booth? I actually never did that.
But he always brought home a snow globe.
That's right. And my shoes were always sticky for some reason.
and stickiness prevails in C.H.U.D.
There's a lot of stickiness. I remember during the audio commentary that they said between Ghostbusters and this movie, they bought up all the KY in New York City.
It's a very straightforward plot. People start disappearing in New York City. They discover that it's radioactive mutants down in the sewers. And
well, let's be thorough. The people that are disappearing are people that live in the sewers.
Not all of them.
Not all of them. The Chuds do grab people a couple of times from a sewer grate and from a telephone booth.
Yeah, they're getting more of the underground homeless people because they're closer.
Well, the reason why you throw in little things like that into the movie is to show that you don't have to be underground to not be safe. If it's after dark, you could probably get taken by one of these.
Otherwise, it would have been a short meeting. Mayor. They're evil creatures underneath the city, and they're eating the homeless people. Oh, okay.
Is that it?
That is great.
Are they registered voters? No. I don't give a shit.
Thanks for the good news. Yeah. So
right.
it's more than that. Obviously.
Yes, it is.
Now there's like a twist, if you can call it that. We're in finding out what the source of the monsters is. But there's not much plot involved in it. Now, it's a weird thing to say, but the film's kind of character-driven.
Well, yeah, the listening to the audio commentary. See, one of the things that Scott told me to do, because he had already done it.
Can I just say that the C.H.U.D audio commentary is now on my top 10 list of best audio commentaries ever?
Yeah, it's up there with the Evil Dead 2 commentary.
Evil Dead 2, Mallrats. The Mallrats audio commentary.
Oh, yeah, I love the first line of that where Kevin Smith says, "Fuck you, DVDs."
Yeah.
Because he's like, Laserdisc, forever. It's like, dude. Then later apologized for that.
Well, he didn't apologize. The next audio commentary, he started it with, fuck Laserdiscs.
Oh, that is true.
But just now, and I don't want to get into the controversy aspects of it just yet, but the audio commentary is hilarious, and it gets a little nasty.
It does get nasty. They start taking shots at the producer.
Let's hold off on that just for a bit. I just want to do more about the film before we get sidetracked and everything else.
Oh, I lost my web pages? Motherfucker. Excuse me. So basically John Hurd, he's a fashion photographer. Doesn't really like what he does, things of that nature. His girlfriend is also a fashion model, and he's just kind of getting bored with the whole Hollywood corporate glitz of, I'm taking these pictures so they can sell a shitty product. He's kind of he's your quintessential, brooding artist, photographer type in this movie.
Right. So he's going around taking pictures of homeless people, and that's how he gets drawn into the whole C.H.U.D development.
Exactly. He gets taken down into the sewers to look around. He sees one guy's leg that's got a chunk taken out of it, which is also one of Daniel Stern's. He owns a soup kitchen, which I found out they filmed all of those scenes in Jersey City. He owns a soup kitchen, and that's one of his guys that comes to his soup kitchen all the time.
Right.
So
he gets a lot of the homeless, and he actually has a hole in his basement that taps right into the underground where all the mold will come from.
That's not smart at all. I mean, what? Yeah, it's like, here's a perfect example: toilets and sinks. You know why the J pipe that comes in has that curve?
Rats.
No, I never heard that, but that might be true. It's so all of the noxious gases don't just come pouring into your house and kill you. Yeah. So having a hole that leads into the sewer, bad idea. Really bad idea. Hey, it's just an observation. So yeah, Daniel Stern, he owns a soup kitchen. He's taking care of these people, and in a lot of ways, they're his friends. You know, he cares for these people, and a lot of them start going missing. So he takes great care in trying to figure out why that's happening, and he's taking pictures, he's investigating, and he's just getting little bits by bits, like little pieces. He's finding like a boot. He's finding this radioactive. I don't know.
Well, when you say Daniel Stern's, when you say Daniel Stern's taking pictures, you mean he's taking them from John Hurd? Break into his apartment and steal his pictures.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah, he's not out there with a camera. He's out there with a knife breaking into the house. So, these are pictures. I would take these to City Hall. And Daniel Stern is the Reverend in a role that he pretty much created and wrote himself.
Yeah. Well, one of the stipulations, because I read those two websites that you sent me, one of the stipulations was that Benime, I don't really know how to pronounce his last name. Bonamy. His name was Adam or...
Andrew.
Okay, Andrew Bonamy. One of the stipulations was he could get John Hurd and Daniel Stern as long as they hired Doug Cheek to direct.
Now, well, all right, don't get it. You might be saying it wrong. John Hurd and Daniel Stern were willing to do the film for scale. The stipulation was that he got Doug Cheek to direct. It was their stipulation, not the producers.
That's what I said.
But the way you said it, it sounded like the other way. I was just clarifying.
Oh, excuse me. Well, what I ment was that.
I know. I just clarify. That's all.
And Christopher Curry, who plays Bosch, who is the police officer, they're like all buddies. So one of the big reasons why Daniel Stern, I guess, felt this privilege to rewrite parts of the script on a daily basis was because he was buddies with everybody.
Well, I mean, the whole...
Excuse me.
I was trying to... It's hard not to talk about. I was trying to hold off and talk more about the film first, but this is like the main gist of the film. This is the most interesting part of it, is that when they got when the producer purchased the script, he eventually handed it off to a second person, Parnell, to rewrite the screenplay.
Right. Who refused initially. He didn't want to rewrite someone else's work. He refused initially.
Right. Well, according to Andrew.
Well, yeah.
Bonima.
Bonami.
And the original screenwriter,
Shep Abbott.
Yeah. Shepard Abbott. He was friends with John Hurd and Daniel Stern. They all knew each other. Like they were with him when he was talking about the idea before he even wrote the screenplay.
Right.
So they were kind of they were a bit upset that his script was being rewritten on him, and they also didn't like how it was being rewritten.
Yeah, because Andrew, the producer, he asked for Abbott to give him rewrites and notes and things of that nature, and he just wasn't doing that, and that's why he brought in. That's why he brought in Parnell Hall.
That's according to the producer, and I.
Hold on. I just want to say one thing that I noticed in all the readings that I found that maybe puts the producer Andrew either not remembering things quite well or just flat out lying. Okay, hear me out. He specifically says in one of the articles, I forget which one, but he says that John Carpenter had a poster of C.H.U.D during the filmmaking. Now, this is important. During the filmmaking of Escape from New York. Mm-hmm. Now, the reason why that doesn't work is because Escape from New York was being filmed 2 full years before this even started. Escape from New York was being filmed in 1981. This didn't get started filming until 1983. Which they didn't have any funds until that year to even make a poster. So how the fuck does John Carpenter have a poster of C.H.U.D in 1981 when this film was filmed and released in 83 and then 84? Well, it's not fucking possible. Now, to me, that's either someone that doesn't have a good recollection of time or is just lying. Or someone told him and they just believed it, which is, I don't know what's worse.
Let's set up the whole situation for the listeners that might not be 100% familiar with this.
Okay.
Basically, the C.H.U.D special DVD, it was Anchor Bay.
I forget
who.
It was Anchor Bay.
And they did an audio commentary.
Now, there isn't a Blu-ray of this yet, right?
Not getting what?
There isn't a Blu-ray of this. No one's done a Blu-ray of C.H.U.D yet.
Not yet. Man. Actually, Criterion did a April Fool's joke where they said they were going to release a Blu-ray of it, and I think it's in poor taste because that they're kind of making fun of the movie. I don't know. I thought that was kind of like uncool.
Yeah.
Of them
even as you said it, I got annoyed.
Yeah. Like fuck you.
Criterion. Yeah. Anyway, go release another black and white 70-minute movie. Go for it.
Right.
Twats.
So the Anchor Bay DVD comes out and it's got audio commentary with John Hurd, Daniel Stern, Christopher Curry. Shepard
Abbott,
and who am I forgetting?
John Hurd.
And Doug Cheek.
Doug Cheek, that's right. It's 4 of them.
The original screenwriter, the director, and the 3 main actors.
All friends. So that's why that commentary sounded like they ganged up on Andrew because they did.
Well, and they really and not all of them, but the ringleader's Daniel Stern. He has a strong dislike of Parnell and the producer and the rewriter Parnell, and through the audio commentary, they accuse him of not paying them because they took a deferred payment and were paid scale.
Right.
And they talk about the fact that they never received any pay after the film made back its investors' money. Which is debatable on whether or not that ever happened.
They said actually everybody across the board.
You and I will talk about that in a second. You and I will talk about that shortly.
Okay.
I'm just trying to get through the basics of
this.
Sure,
go for it.
They also they complain about the script writing, certain scenes that were made that were written by the producer himself, and pretty much trash talk Purnell and Bonham through most of the film. Bonheim, however how to pronounce it. So the producer, upon hearing it, gets all pissy and creates his own website called C.H.U.D Facts, which is no longer up. But if you do a search for it, you can find it on archive.is, which is a web page archive. I love the fact that there are people out there just archiving websites before they disappear.
Yeah, just in case.
I love that that's out
there. It's not even an old adage because the internet's not that old, but if it makes it to the internet, it lives forever in some way.
Yeah, it's.
If anyone is dumb enough out there to film yourself having sex with someone else, make sure that it doesn't make it to the internet because that shit ain't ever coming down.
Right, but I love the fact you can find this stuff through these archives, and so it's still available. And I don't know why he took it down. I'm assuming because maybe there were repercussions to what he was saying in it.
Probably.
But he releases his own thing where he's like, these are facts. And he's going to refute all these things that were said about him in the audio commentary. And he makes some accusations of his own that I'm not going to get into now.
You know what's interesting? Listening to the commentary, they talk a lot about how they're noticing things in the movie that they've never seen, or like what a lot through the commentary. Right. They say, "What cut is this?"
Well, and that's because, and I've never seen the theatrical cut, but apparently, the theatrical cut is much different than the cut that we see in Anchor Bay, which is kind of a restored original cut.
Now, is the theatrical cut available anywhere or ever? Because I got the impression that the theatrical cut was just shown theatrically.
I believe. Well, I know if you look up alternate versions that the television cut supposedly restores some of the scenes that were cut out of the theatrical cut.
Okay.
And I also read that a lot of, according to Bonamy and other places, things I saw, the studios recut the film after test screening it, which is always a bad fucking idea.
Yep.
And I think at one point they even looped dialogue into the film that somebody yelled out at the screen during the screening.
Oh yeah, I know the scene. It was when the girlfriend Kristen Greist. Anyway, the one where she goes at the window and she's screaming, "Help me! Help me!" and someone screams, "Call the Ghostbusters," because that film had come out the same year.
Right.
They added that. It's like, because it got a laugh in the theater, and I guess
so
they
the
were
studio,
grasping at straws.
Yeah, so the studio fucked it up, and they weren't even aware of that. So, and Bonamy mentions that on his C.H.U.D facts, and kind of uses that to imply that they didn't really know what was going on behind the scenes. Now, I don't want to attack Bonamy, but I'm going to, because he's only. It's too much. I can't get into it. I don't want to spend the whole time.
I'm looking at some of the, and this is just the rough Blu-ray specs. It's not out on Blu-ray, but it gives the year and the runtime, and the runtime is 88 minutes, which I guess is the theatrical cut or the cut that came out on VHS. The 96-minute cut, which is the version we watched, is the director's cut, which, it's an extra 8 minutes. So to me, that plays a big part in what might come out to Blu-ray. Maybe they'll release both cuts, but they would probably have to consult with either Andrew or Doug to maybe do like a definitive cut of the film.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's no bad blood there.
No, zero. I hope it's like a Shout Factory release, because at least they'll have some good stuff.
Definitely. One of the main contentions is the screenplay, and the whole idea that Abbott
right
had the screenplay option by now, and that's the one thing. There are several reasons why I don't like the producer. One, because he's a producer, and I genuinely have a strong distrust of producers that aren't also like actors, screenwriters, etc.
Right.
This guy talks a lot of talk about being like a screenwriter's producer. He's only actually this company. It's weird. Like it's like if you look up his like he actually has a LinkedIn page, and if you go there, his Bonamy Productions or whatever it's called, is he says it from like 1970 to 80s to 93. If you look up Bonamy Productions, it was registered in New York City in 1987.
Oh my!
And was dissolved in 93.
Oh wow!
So technically, this company didn't really exist unless there's a document I'm missing until years after C.H.U.D was actually created.
Got it.
Now, one of the things he says on his C.H.U.D facts is he talks about how I was brought to the screenplay, and I'm going through all these screenplays. So what I do is I option screenplays and I produce them. The only other two films he's done before C.H.U.D with any kind of credit on them is the Madden Project and the Bell Jar. Both are fuck.
What, art house?
Words are escaping my fucking brain tonight. Both are projects that were optioned from existing novels.
Fine. Okay.
All right. So they were adapted from already existing works.
It's because you lost the beard. I mean,
it
holds many powers.
That's where my strength is. Yeah, I know. C.H.U.D is the first film he's produced that's an original work. It's the second film he's produced as producer, or second film technically he's produced. He was like a coordinator on the Madden Project. So he talks about how he dealing with Parnell and how this guy didn't know how to write properly and he wasn't working with me and his rewrites weren't really rewrites. Not Parnell, sorry, Abbott.
No, Abbott. He was saying
that
he didn't think that he actually knew how to structure a script in any way,
He's
which
saying, like,
might be partially true, but.
No, I don't know. I doubt it. I don't think so. I'm sorry. Like, the way he talks about him, too, it's like overly... It's not just like, yeah, well, I tried working with him with the rest. He goes through great detail to try to paint Abbott as, yeah, it was sloppy. He didn't know how to write. When we had these sessions, I thought he was listening to me, but he would give me these rewrites that were off. I tried to explain to him. Every time this fucker mentions horror films, he says, yeah, he mentions Hitchcock.
I know.
Hitchcock didn't make fucking horror films.
No,
he made suspense thrillers. He didn't make fucking horror films like C.H.U.D.
Yeah, and doesn't he say that the shower scene is an ode to Hitchcock?
Yeah, and I love the audio commentary where Daniel Stern's like, "Oh, what the fuck is this?"
And then they also say, she signed a nude release, and then she backed out. She chickened out at the last minute. And they talk about it in the audio commentary, and they all say, oh, yeah, because, Andrew, of course, he wanted to get some chick nude. And he said one of the biggest reasons why he did the C.H.U.D facts was to kind of clear his name on that, saying, yeah, I didn't just want, I'm not a pervert. I didn't want to just get some woman naked for the movie.
Right, but he did want a scantily clad woman in a shower scene to sell the film.
Yes.
Because one of the
they used a body double, and there's actually nudity, which is on the special edition DVD, as like it's in the special features area, and Andrew, he's like, I don't even know how they got that footage.
I'm going to look into it.
Yeah,
his first film, the first film he was involved in, the Madden Project, is about sexual and drug experimentation at college. It's an exploitation film.
Right.
So I mean, that's where he's only has 3 films to his credit. This teen college drug sex exploitation film, The Bell Jar, which is a widely disliked adaptation.
Okay.
And now C.H.U.D. And so he says, "Oh, I got my friend Parnell. I got this." Or he doesn't say friend. He says like, "Oh, a writer I've worked with. It's his friend." And I've worked with him on and I optioned these scripts of his, and I've developed all these projects with him. If you look Parnell up, this is the only screenwriting credit he has.
Yeah, he went on to actually write suspense novels, right?
Right, he has a whole line of mystery novels, and the fact that he's writing only mystery novels explains that why he would say no when the producer says, "Hey, do this for me." He didn't like the source material. I'm thinking he's like, "Yeah, it's a horror film. I don't write horror." And so you end up with someone who doesn't like the genre, doesn't like the source material. He's going to rewrite the movie.
Right, exactly.
No wonder the people that were there at the beginning when it was created didn't like what was coming out of it. He's like, "What the fuck is this? This isn't even close to what it was." And again, why would you pick something? And he just makes it sound like, it wasn't that good of a screenplay, and the guy wasn't a good writer, but I took it and we did this, and so I decided to get someone to rewrite it and try to get $40 million for it. Really?
Yeah.
Really?
44 million.
You didn't like?
Yeah.
That's how far it was something you didn't like. Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
No, and they spent a lot of time trying to get it made. So yeah, when he was saying that, and I'm reading that, and I'm like, yeah, but this was like became his baby in some way. Like he was really trying to get it made, and he was trying to get more than 1.2 million that he ended up getting, which he actually said rock bottom was 1.6, and he didn't even get that. But he also went on to say that Daniel Stern was bringing on a daily basis rewrites from the script that they got, and he kind of shit on Daniel Stern for doing that. And Daniel Stern and I believe it was Doug Cheek, they both said that they pretty much rewrote 50% of the film during the filming to, I guess, try and get it back to their original concept somewhat. And obviously Andrew Bonamy, he's took offense to that, and he said, listen, Daniel Stern doesn't realize that something he writes on page 7 or page 22 affects something that happens on page 78, and it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, and he says that, and then he gives an example of the scene when they're in the sewers,
right?
And they find the crates, and I'm like, yeah, that doesn't work because that is set up in the beginning of the film. So what the fuck are you talking about? I don't know.
Right.
Yeah, I don't. There's a there's a lot of this talk. A good example of my dislike of producers and producers like this that manage to like just explain how nobody else understands anything.
Well, you know what, too? He said...
That's her first half of my sentence. I just want to finish the sentence.
Go for it.
A perfect example is the book, God damn it.
Are you thinking The Keep?
No, it's a book about the making of Natural Born Killers.
Oh. I don't know.
Not The Devil's Candy. That's The Devil's Candy is the making of Bonfire to Vanities. But there's a book by the producer of Natural Born Killers, and I'll look it up while we're talking later on. And this producer, female, that wrote this, explains throughout this book how Oliver Stone didn't know what he was doing. The screenwriters didn't know what they were doing. She's the reason Natural Born Killers was good. And everybody else that was involved with it had no idea what they were doing. And oddly enough, she doesn't really produce anything after that book comes out.
Yeah.
I wonder why. She even shit talks her co-producer.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. All these men are children, and I brought women into the thing, and it's just like that. It's just the way this guy's talking.
I would go out on a limb that Oliver Stone and a lot of the actors in the film know a lot more fucking people than she did, and it made it very difficult for her to get work again because you don't shit where you eat. That's kind of the number one rule. You don't burn bridges. You don't shit where you eat. That's kind of it.
Well, I mean, to an extent, yeah, but also.
Well, if you don't want to work again, go ahead and burn the bridge, and
like, I can believe if you're reading something like if somebody involved in a film says, "Oh yeah," and he didn't know what this was, and I did that, and that's it. When you read this woman's book, everything worked just because she was involved. It's just one. This, and this.
Total horseshit.
Oh, if I
mean,
wasn't there,
Oliver Stone, by the time he did Natural Born Killers, I think he had 3 movies under his belt. And he had 3 movies under his belt. He co-wrote Scarface. I mean, he had so much experience. I find it very hard to believe by the time he got to do, Natural Born Killers, he didn't know what he was doing.
The book is Killer Instinct. And it's by Jane Hampshire.
Jane Hampshire. Okay.
Yes. Get it if you want a great example of a producer just claiming that they are the only people that have any idea how to do anything and talk about other people like they're children. And Bonamy does that on his C.H.U.D facts. He even has one section like Film Financing 101. Says, "Oh, you're going to teach everybody now. Are you, Andy?" Fuck you. That attitude, that kind of tone. I just reading his stuff, I get that. And
nah.
Now, yeah, and then they also complain about the whole budget thing, and that's one thing I guess because now you're claiming fraud, which, dude, and I'll tell you.
All right.
All producers fucking steal money.
Oh yeah, I'm sure of it. You know what? Oliver Stone actually had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 movies before he did Natural Born Killers. 10 movies! Movies like Salvador, Platoon, Wall Street, Talk Fucking Radio, Born on the 4th of July, The Doors, JFK, which was a tour de force. I mean, that is a ridiculously good movie. Heaven and Earth, and then he did Natural Born Killers. So, actually, looking at his resume of films, kind of fell off after Natural Born Killers. Not that he was making bad movies, he just wasn't making movies I was interested in watching anymore.
Right.
Movies like Nixon and Any Given Sunday and World Trade Center, things like that. So anyway.
Yeah, and again, this is her second producer credit, Natural Born Killers. Bonamy, this is his second production credit. Here's another thing that I thought was unusual in his C.H.U.D facts. He says, "I got all these investors together and I sold them on the fact that I would be directing. They trusted me, they knew I knew everything." But then these other guys
That's
wanted me to
where I
bring in
was-
Doug Cheek.
That's where I
What?
was going to go earlier. I was going to mention.
Oh, I'm
that.
sorry.
No, it's okay. It's good.
Want to go with it or?
No. I was just going to mention that. I was going to say that one of the things that he might be, even to this day, a little bitter about is that he was going to direct this and direct it his own way. And even though he says he wasn't partial to the script and he was asking for tons of rewrites, he definitely had a different vision for this movie. And basically, he's complaining because he was cock-blocked.
Well, and here's one of the things he says that really bothers me about that, because he mentions that but he builds it up and says the investors, they were really set on me directing. So then they come up and say, yeah, but we want Doug Cheek to direct. And so, but now the directors that, I had to explain to them how this person who didn't have any previous directing credits
Right.
was going to direct the film. Guess who else doesn't have any previous directing credits?
Good old Andy.
Andrew Bonham, the fucking producer that's saying he's going to direct it. Well, he has just as much credentials in directing
Right.
as Doug Cheek. So what the fuck?
Did Andrew ever direct anything at all after this?
I don't believe so. I think C.H.U.D was his last film.
I mean, he couldn't have just totally shit
No,
the
'cause-
bed on this, that they wouldn't give him any kind of directing. Usually you end up directing something if that's what you really wanted to do at some point, and you're a producer, so...
It just, to me, it smells like this guy wanted to turn himself into another Golden Globus thing. And it's like, horror films, 80s, this is the easy way in. We'll do this. And he wanted, and as a producer, he also wants to write and direct it, because he's even writing scenes with Parnell. The shower scene was written by the producer.
That's right.
So he's putting scenes in there with the writer. He's writing with this guy. It's like, again, it just seems like he thought he was going to do everything. So, and the stuff they changed from the original script, like the monsters, is shit. And he'll even admit it's shit, but then he won't take responsibility and say, well, yeah, I fucked that up.
Man. So, yeah, Miscellaneous Crew, 1973, The Harrod Experiment, and producer, you had already mentioned it, The Bell Jar, and C.H.U.D. And that's it. He's never gone on to direct anything. He's never written anything.
Well, he's done stuff for internet media and the Cooking Channel or something. There's the Joy of Cooking Channel.
Yeah,
he's done a lot of. This is a corporate guy.
That's right. He's a suit and a tie.
He is. I mean, all of it. If you check out his LinkedIn profile, everything is done after he's an executive. He does this stuff. And I'm not saying the guy doesn't know anything about writing or anything like that. We haven't seen anything else he's written.
Yeah,
anything.
It
He's
says
written,
here,
really.
Andrew Bonham spent 10 years in the internet business and wrote the book Writing for New Media, published by John Wiley & Sons. He was vice president for motion picture and TV for Diana Ross in the 80s. And he was president of Cloudshine, a film development and production company, as of March 2003. For all I know, he's retired now, but you're right. He's a total... Well, I said it, but he's a suit and a tie, and he's a behind-the-scenes corporate guy. You
know what? When someone says, I worked in the entertainment business, the internet business. So what the hell's that? It's like saying, oh, yeah, I work in the car business.
We work in the internet business.
Yeah, I work in the internet business. What does that mean? Oh, it could mean anything.
Yeah, I'm in IT. I work in the internet business.
I used to work in the entertainment industry.
That's right. You used to.
Yeah. What does that mean? Well, it's such a broad fucking term. I don't trust anybody that describes what they do in that kind of a broad term. That you like, if you tell me what you do and I can't envision you doing it, then you need to come up with a different way of describing what you do.
That's right.
That's it.
That's right.
Even producer. I know what a producer is. They produce. That's it. The guy sits at a desk. He calls people. He makes sure things are happening. He gets the money. I know what a producer does. I don't know what an internet person does.
No, not at all. I have no idea.
Yeah. As a writer, the screenwriting aspect is what I'm always most interested in. So it's the kind of thing I really clung to when I was hearing the audio commentary about. You're in for a treat when the audio commentary is up, and the first comment in the first scene is the writer going, yeah, this is the only scene they kept that I wrote. Like, oh, this is going to be fun.
Yeah. This is it is a great audio commentary. if you don't like the film, listen to it for the audio commentary. They're having a blast watching this movie. And so much, in fact, that they actually talk over each other a few times. You don't understand what anyone is saying when they do it, like at all.
Daniel Stern has like a bitter streak that I love.
Yeah.
Like during the end credits, when they're doing the credit comes up for Tom Boxell, Boxell.
Yeah, and he just goes, boo.
Yeah, boo.
Why are you booing? He's the fucking guy that designed the CH.U.Ds.
Yeah. And it's hard to. I agree with a lot of what they say because the main argument is like they're complaining like when the opening scene where the manhole cover comes up and like the fakey rubbery glove hands come out, and he's like, what the see. They should have been human hands. That looks stupid. And their main argument was that in the original script, or what the original concept was, is that the CH.U.Ds were just like these underground dwellers, the mole people,
almost vampiresque,
that becoming sick from the radiation and becoming cannibalistic, but they weren't turning into like light bulb eyed, weird Muppet monsters. They were just like their eyes would go green, or like they were still essentially human beings.
Yeah, well, there was actually a scene later in the film which they all commented on, it's because one of the mole people, so to say, was turning into a CH.U.D. He was still human body, face, but he had the razor teeth, and his eyes were starting to get, wide-eyed, but he was still human, but he had lost that human part of him. He was more animalistic, cannibalistic, and Daniel Stern ends up killing him. And they all talk about that, say, that's what we were going for. We didn't want these rubbery, slimy things. So.
And they're 100% right. The film would have actually worked.
Yeah.
100. The only thing that kills, honestly, the only thing that really kills the film is the monsters.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's edited in such a way where you don't really see a lot of them.
Well, you can't because they're shitty costumes.
Yeah. Oh, it was great in the audio commentary. They specifically shit on Andrew when the scene where she chops off the head of one of the CH.U.Ds, where its head gets real long, like E.T. style, and they're like, "Yeah, that was Andrew's idea. What a shit idea that was."
And then that one interview with him, he says something along the lines of, "Yeah, it was bad, but at that point I had to do something." He says, "Yeah, but you didn't need to do that." I mean,
why do you have swords in your house? That's coming up later.
Yeah, stuff like
that was mentioned like 3 times. Oh, there's those swords again. Hey, she's either taking a shower or walking around. You're on the phone.
I love things like that too, where they'll even point out stuff and it's like, well, yeah, they had like when she locks the door and then she trips over her own phone cord and tears it out.
Right.
And one of them's like, "What the hell is that?" And then like the other guy's like, "Well, we had to solve the phone thing. It was it was a good idea. It was the only way to get rid of the phone." And it's like, who trips over their own phone cord?
Well, then either Christopher Curry or the director says, "Yeah, I do it all the time."
Yeah. Well, it's like the Evil Dead 2 film. I mean, they made the film, they love the film, but they make fun of shit all the way. Oh yeah, so he's okay now. Yeah.
Well, yeah, Daniel Stern and John Hurt are making fun of each other, having like gay sex in the sewer, and then Daniel Stern, like, they're limping towards the manhole. He's like, "Yeah, because I just fucked him in the ass." I mean, that's like he's saying shit like that.
Yeah. There's some great
and John Hurt's like, "Yeah, I knew that was going to come up again."
I think
Daniel Stern. I mean, obviously Daniel Stern and John Hurt are friends.
Yeah.
But you could tell, like, they're just riffing on each other. Like, at one point, Daniel Stern is telling John Hurt that he's like, "Are you wearing eye makeup?"
Yeah.
It's like, no.
I think one of my favorite moments is with Christopher Curry, where they're every now and then there's a lull, and I love the lull where it's they're in the boardroom where Christopher Curry as Bosch and the Reverend are trying to convince the city council or whatever that there's something going on, and there's this like lull as Bosch is talking, and then you just hear Christopher Curry go, God, I sucked in this.
Oh yeah, and then there's always the jokes. The director always joking that I don't think I was drunk on this scene. I was definitely drunk on this scene. And then the other actors would Daniel Stern. I think he said he was drunk or high in one of the scenes. He's like, yeah, I was drunk or high or whatever.
Well, Christopher Curry, at the final scene, when he's like, "Yeah, there I was drunk."
Yeah.
Well,
Because and then he says that he says, yeah, that's how I pulled it off because I was actually drunk, because he was playing a bum who was drunk.
No, I'm talking about Christopher Curry, Bosch.
Oh, Bosch, when he's in the car with the tie, he's like he's gonna hang himself.
Yeah, like, I was drunk there.
Yeah, he looked drunk.
Well, and I like earlier during another Bosch scene, I think it was Stern says, "You were drunk in this scene, right?" I said, "No, I wasn't. I wasn't drunk in this scene."
I played that straight.
But there's a pause, like a few minutes after the scenes are over. Yeah, the only way I could handle it. It's great. Daniel, I love Daniel Stern. He's just there's that bitterness to him. It's like,
oh yeah. Great.
Fuck that! I wrote that part.
Oh, they keep making fun of his gold tooth. He has
hair.
There it is. Oh, there's a great shot of it. It's like, oh, there's the gold tooth. Oh, and I love. There's a scene where he walks into his soup kitchen. He goes, up there's good old baggy pants.
Yeah.
He's making fun of himself.
It's a great audio commentary. I mean, I do enjoy the film. And again, it's character driven. The Bosch character and the Reverend, and then Bosch is going back and forth between the police department and the soup kitchen, and you got the photographer. There is a storyline going on that does make sense. I would love to know what the original screenplay was. At some point, someone had it posted somewhere, and they were forced to take it down because somebody sent them a cease and desist.
Oh,
I don't know who. I have not been able to track down. It used to be really easy to get screenplays.
Who owns all of Vestron's shit at this point?
Huh?
Who owns all of Vestron's stuff at this point?
Bill Cosby.
Are you serious?
No, I'm just making
okay.
up.
No, I'm just saying that it's. Well, you know what? When I upload this to YouTube, they'll let me know. Because when we get flagged, they always tell me who flagged me, like it's Warner Brothers or Universal. So, you know what? I'll find out soon enough. It's like, holy shit, Warner Brothers really has a hard-on for Jim Cotta. It's like, wow.
And it's really interesting watching C.H.U.D and hearing about this. Basically, it was original screenplay that was mangled by this other guy, and then they're rewriting it on set. So you get to the point where it's like, is this part I like a part that was the original, or was it Parnell's part, or was this one of Stern's? It's really you have no idea who to root for at any point. But I do enjoy a lot of the movie. It's not scary.
No. And
it would have been scarier if they hadn't. Because here's the main problem with it is they spent all this money on these horribly unscary monsters that they couldn't show for more than a couple of seconds on screen. So they spend more time avoiding showing the monsters than they do showing them. And if they could just show them right up, like a zombie film, then they'd have more time to actually do more with the script.
Oh, definitely.
There are points in the movie where it feels like they're just padding it because, well, we can't show the monsters, so we have to hold the reveal to 10 minutes before the end of the film.
Yeah. Now, the original ending of the movie is actually placed about halfway, three-quarters of the way in.
No, not.
What?
Okay, let's clarify. The ending of the film in the DVD is the actual ending. In the theatrical release, they took the diner scene and they moved it and made that the end of the film.
That's the theatrical release.
Right.
Yeah, I mean,
But it's not the original ending. The original ending is the ending in the DVD.
Okay. Well, what I was going to... All right. It's good that you clarified that.
It's complicated. I know it's
complicated. What I meant to say was what was shown in theaters, the diner scene was the end of the movie.
In the theaters,
yeah,
right.
In that 1 week run that it had.
And John Goodman's in that?
John Goodman and Jay Thomas are in that scene. John Goodman obviously went on to be a huge actor, and Jay Thomas, he was actually a radio guy. He was a radio guy who had some success in film, who's now a radio guy again. But John Goodman, he was in Roseanne for a long time, and then he's done like some really good movies, studio movies, like Arachnophobia, Big Lebowski. I mean, John Goodman is a face and a voice. I mean, voiceovers for the Monsters Inc. films.
He was just in 10 Cloverfield Lane.
Yeah, which I haven't seen yet, but I hear is very good.
It's good. I have seen it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, see it. And also John Polito's in the film.
Oh, he's got a cameo, right?
Yeah, he's the news anchor.
That's right.
In the background, and I would not have recognized him if they hadn't pointed him out in the audio commentary. I was like, who are they? John Polito. I can't place the name. And like, yes, I'm sick of the high hat. That guy. And it's like, but he's like 100 pounds lighter.
Yeah.
He looked more like Kurt Saxon than anybody else.
Well, and that was another thing they did in the commentary. They kept saying that there were people in the film that weren't. Like, they kept referring to the little kid. Oh, that's Brad Pitt's first role, who was actually like 20 years old when this movie came out. But, they're like, oh, that was Sissy Spacek. She was in Badlands, but then, she ended up here. We got everybody. Tommy Lee Jones. They do that through the whole commentary.
Right, but again, because they had so many people
they really
that are now big names that were just like wandering around the set.
So they made a joke of it, but you're right. It was because they did have a lot of these up-and-coming actors that didn't become famous or known actors until later on.
C.H.U.D is... the thing about C.H.U.D is everyone knows it.
Everybody knows it. What's funny? Robert Downey Jr., he's doing an interview for Iron Man, the original Iron Man. And you could probably find it on YouTube still. And they were just talking to him about, how did you get, Iron Man and whatnot? And he's just your acting style and, what do you like to watch? And he goes, sometimes I like to watch movies like Iron Man. And then sometimes I like to watch movies like C.H.U.D, Cannibalistic Humanoid Underground Dwellers. And I'm like, holy shit, dude. It's like, that's awesome. That the fact that he knew the movie, knew what the acronym stood for, so it just, the movie, you know what it is.
The film was only in theaters for a month. It only made
4 million,
domestically 4.5. Yeah,
something like that.
Now, and again, here's the thing where it's like, oh yeah, the investors never made their money back. The film cost depending on which version of Bonamy's story you believe, 1.3 or 1.6. And if the film grossed 4.5 and they still didn't make their money back,
right?
He's the worst producer in the world, or he's like every other producer and they pocket money left and right. Yeah. Twice in like the C.H.U.D facts, when he's talking about the production, first he says, yeah, I raised nearly $40 million for the film, but then they backed out of the deal, so I only had 1.6. Then it's like, oh yeah, I found a distributor that was going to distribute it, but then they backed out of the deal, so I had to give it to them for less. It's like, dude, you suck. Do you get anything in writing? You're a horrible producer. Horrible producer. Or you're just covering your tracks.
Yeah.
And when you've got Andrew so like eager to tell a side of the story that he creates a website and then takes it down.
Right.
And again, it's not just facts. It's him like vindictively trying to explain. Yeah, I'm more likely to believe the other people in the audio commentary than I am Bonnie.
Are we done reviewing C.H.U.D? Do we want to rate it?
You know what? I just feel like we haven't talked much about the movie and more about the behind the scenes stuff. Yeah, I guess that is okay.
Listen, it's a razor thin plot. It's a fun movie. It's from our childhood. We always say that about a lot of movies we review. I mean, what are we going to go into? Cinematography? My favorite scene is the very last scene when the truck explodes with all the sparks in the air. Even Daniel Stern says, he goes, this scene's beautiful. I mean, it is. It's a gorgeous scene. And the music is very 80s, synthesizer. I could challenge you to like 10 movies just based off the music in that scene alone. And it's just almost silhouetted. Daniel Stern's almost silhouetted against the giant flames and sparks coming off of the truck that explodes. Great scene. But we're not going to do that because this is it's a shitty 80s horror movie. I mean, we could.
But one of the best shitty '80s horror movies.
That is true. That is true. Oh, here's what's his face, the guy that was like you go by the name of staying alive, like whatever the fuck that means. What does that mean?
I don't care. He was awesome.
He was great. And he's a familiar actor. I see him in other things, and I just can't get it out of my head. What else he's been in?
I feel like a TV actor. I feel like he's been in television stuff.
Like like Smothers Brothers or like Carol Burnett stuff. Like I've seen him in that. That's where I picture him. Actually, what is his name in the movie?
I forget.
I'll find him.
You
look. You go ahead and do the demographics, and I'll see if I can find him real quick.
We have to rate the film first, sir.
Yes. Okay. Where is it? It's sitting at a 4.
5.5.
5.5.
With 7,000 votes.
With 7,000 votes.
I think this is a firm 5.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
I'd let you talk me into a 6, but I'm really okay with a 5.
You know what? I could probably be talked into a 4. I'm gonna go with a 5.
No, I would never do that for this.
I think this is like, I think C.H.U.D belongs right up there with like Season of the Witch.
Yeah.
Just
although we rated Season of the Witch a little higher though.
Yeah,
I think we gave that a 6,
maybe it's a little below Season of the Witch.
A 7. Did we give Season of the Witch a 7?
That sounds crazy.
I can't. No, we didn't. We couldn't have given that a 7.
We couldn't. That's crazy talk.
It is. It's crazy.
I'm gonna go with 5. You cool with 5?
I'm good with 5.
All right, I think that's fair. Demographics is pretty much 5 across the board. The highest demographic is wow. So males under 18, only 1 rated it. It was a 5.
Mm-hmm.
Females under 18, only 1 rated it, and it was a 5. We got to get those two together.
Huh. Okay.
Lowest demographic is males aged 45 and older at 5.1. Highest is males aged 18 to 29 at 5.8. 18 to 29 means they weren't even alive when this film came out.
God.
More likely than not. So that's interesting that the highest rating average is people that weren't around when the film was released.
Right.
Which means that there's an interest in these older horror films. I like that. As an older individual now, that warms my heart. Wow, IMDb staff, only 1 rated it, but they rated it a 6. This is the IMDb staffer we need to meet.
Yeah, right.
Here's an IMDb staffer that knows something. I wish they identified them because I would stalk them.
J.C. Quinn. Oh, that was the guy that led John Hurd down into the sewers. Apparently, he was in The Abyss, and John Bedford Lloyd, who played Shadow Man, was the guy that was following Daniel Stern through the whole film.
Oh, the guy that follows the dime?
Yeah.
No, that's a different guy.
No, that's him. He was in The Abyss.
Oh, the guy that's following Stern. The Shadow guy is the guy that's following
Daniel Stern.
The cop that's following John Hurd. That's not the Shadow Man?
That's J.C. Quinn. What I'm getting at, J.C. Quinn is the one that's following John Hurd. He was in The Abyss. And then John Bedford Lloyd, who's the Shadow Man following Daniel Stern, also in The Abyss. So James Cameron stole 2 guys from C.H.U.D. And I'm not fucking surprised.
I love when Stern's talking to the director and says, "Man, you guys almost sunk my career twice." Yeah, I mean, just as far as Daniel Stern goes, looking at C.H.U.D in his repertoire.
Uh-huh.
I mean, just glancing at it here, C.H.U.D was. He had just come off of Blue Thunder.
And Diner.
Well, Diner was before Blue Thunder, right? And
he just came off of Blue Thunder, but he had both of those under his belt.
And he was in Breaking Away, which was his first film, which is still a classic.
Right.
So, Yeah, he was just finally getting the mainstream with like Blue Thunder and Diner, and then C.H.U.D comes along. It's like, what the fuck? And then the next, I mean, he was in Hannah and Her Sisters, but I don't know what that did for his career.
Yeah, his name was Robert Tupin. That was the guy with the knife. You go by the name of Staying Alive. He's done a shit ton of TV stuff.
Yeah, I recognize him as a TV actor. I called that. I called that.
Yeah, I mean, he's been in a ton of shit.
You know what's weird? Looking at Daniel Stern and looking at how much he was in before Home Alone.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember him from Leviathan, and I was like, oh shit, that's actually before Home Alone.
Fucking Leviathan.
Yeah. And DOA, which was a sleeper, but I love that movie, the remake.
Oh, the one with Dennis Quaid?
Yeah.
Yep.
Love that. Yeah, but if you have not heard the audio commentary, you got to get it.
Absolutely.